On, but you've got me muted, right? Oh, I see. You just do that just to check. Test 1 2 3. Test 1 2 3. So now I'm on. Okay. So shall I mute here? Yes, I can hear it too. Okay, I'll mute here. And now I'm oh. Okay, check 1 2 3. Yeah. So that's how we would expect it to be. Yes. Is to power or mute?
No, power. If you just to be absolutely certain, if you're having a private conversation, just turn it off.
Just turn it off. Okay. Okay, just to know. Okay. Yeah, probably. Where's that orangey, that little armband thing that was in the bucket? This has become my holder. It works like a charm.
The interface device is set up so you really shouldn't have to play with those dials either, right? I mean, everything, it doesn't change week to week with the board.
Yeah, the only thing I need to remember.
It's just a matter of plug and play, and maybe your computer.
Let's put this on number 3.
Remember the inputs next week, maybe you can.
Yeah, we'll leave it on that now. On the
because clearly, you got your input signal, you've got your output signal, so that
audio
should be,
microphone.
and you've got it up here, and you've got it down there.
Audio microphone. It should be good. Thank you so much. Hello, Barb. I don't have my mask on.
Neither do I. I got it already.
Let me mute this.
Check. Hello.
We come together to behold the power of love, the power of light. We come together to behold. We are divine. Lift up our hands, lift up our hearts, oh, lift up our vision, lift it to the stars. Dance in the glory, walk in the grace. See God in every face. See God in every face. We come together to behold the power of love, the power of light. We come together to behold. We are divine. Lift up our hands, lift up our hearts, oh, lift up our vision, lift it to the stars. Dance in the glory, whirl in the grace. See God in every face. See God in every face. We come together to behold the power of love, power of light. We come together to behold. We are divine. Lift up our hands, lift up our hearts, oh, lift up our vision, lift it to the stars. Dance in the glory, whirl in the grace. See God in every face. 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 Hey!
Papa. Good morning, everybody. Oh, take your mask off. Okay. Welcome to Unity of New Westminster on this stunning day. It feels like summer is finally here. I am Reverend Rona Segura, and it is my pleasure and privilege to be the minister at this amazing community of love. And I welcome all of you who are here today, whether you are joining us for the first time, whether you are joining us online in what is our first live stream, and really today was supposed to be a private test, so hello. It was public. Welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you are here. The Unity movement offers ideas for full and abundant living. We draw on the teachings of Jesus, who we consider our primary way shower and example. And we honor that there is wisdom in faith traditions all over the planet. We honor every person's right to choose their own spiritual path, which is the same thing as choosing a life path. All are welcome here. All are worthy here. All are celebrated here. We begin our service today in a time of reflection and prayer. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded and traditional territory of the Kakite First Nation. And it is on this beautiful land that we love, that we play, that we live. And we are so grateful for the opportunity to be here. We are so grateful that we are able to be here in this physical space as well as in virtual space. We acknowledge that there is only one presence, one power. That power which creates, forms, and continues to evolve us. By whatever our understanding for that power is, we know that there is only one. Some may call that power God. Others may call that power life, the force, Allah, Yahweh, Gaia, Creator, Mother Earth, universe, nature. Thousands and thousands of names for the one power of which we are a part. There is no spot that God is not, including us. And it is in the knowledge that we are all connected that what we do to one affects the whole. That we intend to uplift with blessings of love, blessings of peace, blessings for contentment, blessings for all the people of this planet to be uplifted, comforted. We send a blessing regardless of all those labels that divide us. Seeing beyond the labels, through the labels, to that place where we are one. And it is in that oneness that we stand today, that we celebrate today, that we honor the worthiness and worth of every person. And we are so grateful for the power and the intention and the freedom to be able to stand and speak and love freely. We have so much to be grateful for. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning. I'm reading from Daily Word, Sunday, June the 26th, kindness. I am love in action, sharing acts of kindness. It is my nature to be kind. Divine love is inherent within me, part of my spiritual identity. Opportunities abound to be kind, and I hold that intention today. Ideas will fill my mind. Perhaps there's a nudge to call a neighbor, send a note, extend a smile, or give a compliment. Practicing kindness includes sharing my gifts and talents in ways that allow me to express my individuality by giving of myself. Focusing on kindness, I am patient in all my dealings and resist easy judgments and prejudices. I'm keenly aware that challenging situations can frustrate me, but I also welcome them as occasions to call upon my higher self as a loving and peaceful being. The more I practice kindness, the more easily it comes the song of my heart and my way of life. Render true judgment, show kindness and mercy to one another. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 9.
Thanks, Barb. Want some help now? No? No, not yet. There, you did it.
When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yeah, babe, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud now. Soon I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call up my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yes, I will see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, yeah. All you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, ain't it good to know that you got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh yeah, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Oh babe, don't you know about winter, spring, summer, or fall? Hey, now all you've got to do is call. Lord, I'll be there, yes I will. No, you've got a friend. You've got a friend, yeah. Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Oh yeah, yeah, you've got a friend.
Some of you may know I grew up in South Africa. And for a while, at a time, we lived with my grandmother. And on her wall, she had a picture, a poster, a tapestry actually, and it said, "I shall pass this way but once. Any good, therefore, that I may do, let me do it now, for I may not pass this way again." Or I shall not pass this way again, one or the other. And of course, as a young 10 to 12-year-old at that time, I would pass that and see it all the time. So it kind of stuck in my head. And it always reminds me of the story of the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan is a parable that was told by Jesus after a lawyer tried to test him. The guy was often challenged. And what Jesus did in the story of the Good Samaritan is upend, in many ways, some of the assumptions that were held by the people that he associated with, certainly that this lawyer associated with. It is found, the story is found in the book of Luke. Just then, a lawyer stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he said, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "What is written in the law? What do you read there?" The man answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said to him, "You have given the right answer. Do this, and you will live. But wanting a different answer, or wanting to see if he could trick Jesus a little bit more, the scripture says, wanting to justify himself, the lawyer then asks Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell into the hands of robbers. They stripped him, they beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed on the other side. So likewise, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw the man, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, while traveling, came near him, and when he saw him, he was moved with pity. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, having poured oil and wine on them. Then he put him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii, money, gave them to the innkeeper, and said, 'Take care of him, and when I come back, I will repay you whatever more you spend.' Then Jesus says, 'Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?' The lawyer obviously says, 'The one who showed him mercy.' And Jesus said, 'Go and do likewise.'" So what we see is this lawyer trying to trick Jesus. And Jesus responds with a question of his own. What does the law say? Well, the law is contained in the Hebrew scriptures in the first 5 chapters of the Hebrew scriptures. It's known as the Pentateuch. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. They're considered the law. And what the man responds with is the Shema, part of the Shema. "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." And it is said as daily prayers by people who follow the Jewish tradition. It's found in the book of Deuteronomy. And then the man goes on to say what is found in the book of Leviticus, which is, "You will love your neighbor as yourself." So check, check, check. Yes, he knew all of those answers. And so he knows the answers. This lawyer knows the answers. But he wants to know what it really means. And Jesus then tells this story, which we have come to know as the parable of the Good Samaritan. And at first glance, it's a pretty straightforward story that has immense value in terms of the reminder that we got to be kind to each other. That no matter who we are, no matter who they are, we want to be kind. And we want to extend compassion to people who are hurting. So at face value, it is a perfectly reasonable and wise story. And we can go a little deeper and look at the aspects of the story and look at the characters of the story and see how they inform or can inform how we behave and how we live. And what we see is that we are all of the characters in the story. Sometimes we're all of the characters on the same day, sometimes even in the same moment. First, though, let's just look at a couple of the physical aspects of the story. One is this idea of the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. See, if you imagine the map, you have the Mediterranean Sea, And then you have Jerusalem, which stands about 2,500 feet above sea level, so that all that lovely cool breeze and moisture comes in from the Mediterranean and lands in Jerusalem. And then we drop off. And for 18 miles of going down the other side of Jerusalem, we reach the Dead Sea Valley. And that is where Jericho sits, 825 feet below sea level. So this journey that these people are taking is through rocky, windy, narrow terrain with very little protection from the elements, because just like in Vancouver, you hit the mountains and the rain lands. Well, in the same way in Jerusalem, all of that moisture ends and gets caught on those hills in Jerusalem, and then we land into this arid climate, which is why I chose this picture as the background, because that's what it looked like. 17 miles of yuck. And people would go down to Jericho because it has a natural oasis. It has springs and so on. And so it is nice once you get there, but sometimes that road can be quite treacherous. And of course, metaphysically, we're on that road. We're always on that journey, choosing between Jerusalem, which represents the land of milk and honey, the higher consciousness up high on the mountain, the place where the temple exists. And on the journey, on the other end of the journey, conscious-wise, is Jericho, Party City, the place that is below sea level. It adds temporary comfort, a nice place to go hang out, but not necessarily the place you want to live in. And so, just right off the bat, the first question that came to me was, with every step we take, are we on the road to Jerusalem or on the road to Jericho? And what we see is that the priest, the Levite, and the person who was waylaid and robbed were on their road to Jericho, on their way down in consciousness, if you wanted to use metaphysical connections. And we don't know, we aren't told which way the Samaritan was moving. But I would like to think that he was moving towards Jerusalem, moving upward in consciousness. And so, when we think about any choice point that we make, one of the questions we might ask ourselves is, am I moving towards something higher in consciousness, which is, what is the next most loving thought I can have? What's the next most loving word I can speak? What is the next most loving action I can take? Or am I going to be moving to a lower consciousness, a place where I get some temporary relief? Yell at somebody and it feels really good in the moment, but it doesn't really last. Which of these two choices am I choosing? Now, that's one aspect. I should have done this in 2 weeks. The other question we want to consider is that Jesus chose as his example a Samaritan. So if I say priest, deacon, congregant, that would make sense. if I say minister, platform person, congregant, that would make sense. Well, in the same way, priest and Levite have that kind of relationship. The priests are the people who ran the temple. They were the equivalent of what I would think of as a minister. The Levites were the lay people who assisted the ministry in various ways. They were the musicians and the platform people and the people who did readings and that sort of thing. And one would expect that Jesus would then say, congregant or community member. The last thing you would expect him to say is Samaritan. Why? Because the Jews and the Samaritans hated each other. Going back 800 years prior, they had this split. And the Jews considered Samaritans to be half-breeds. And they would have nothing to do with them. And so I struggled actually trying to think of something today that might be similar. And all I could come up with is, conservative and Democrat, or conservative and liberal, or it's like, a person who wants to have an abortion hanging with a group of people who are what they consider pro-life and anti-abortion. It's this, think of the person or the type of person who is the most diametrically opposed to your thinking. The person who you have no time for. And that's the person that Jesus uses as the hero of the story. And by implication, he makes the others not necessarily the zeros of the story, but definitely not the person whose example we want to follow. And so even this idea of challenging the assumption that our neighbor is not just the people who are part of our tribe, or not just the people who agree with us, but who are people who look nothing like us, who think nothing like us, and who we may have made assumptions about as a group, to recognize that each one of them are individuals who also have divinity and good within them. And so, it was a real shock to say Samaritan. Jesus, even in another time, told his disciples to avoid Samaria because they were just so poorly treated there. So, just keep that in the back of your mind. It's not the rituals that matter. It's not the label that matters, the role that we play, whether it's priest or minister or pope. It's not to the secondary roles we play, whether it's Levite or lay person or platform person or musician or whatever those might be. What matters is how we treat each other. And then, I mentioned that we're all characters in these stories. So what do we see the priest and the Levite do as characters in the story? Well, the first thing we see is that they move to the other side of the road. They move away from the pain. They go out of their way to get out of the way. Now, it could be because they're concerned that they will become unclean if they touch something or someone who is, definitely who is dead, they would consider unclean. And it's not clear how conscious this man was, so maybe that's what was going on. Or it could be that they were in a hurry to get down to Party City. Or it could be that they were scared that if they took time to help that person, that they may be hurt and robbed as well. And there's probably 10 other ideas you can think of about why it's possible that they didn't help. But what seems clear is with all of them, all of those ideas, it was their discomfort that prevented them from going towards this man and, in fact, to literally avoiding him. Well, how does that apply to us? Where do we avoid pain? Where do we go out of our way so that we're not uncomfortable? There's a story that I read about Mother Teresa who I was on a speaking tour, I think, in the United States, and a woman deeply touched by what she said came up to her and said, "How can I help? How can I do something?" And the Mother Teresa said, "Go outside and look for a homeless person and take care of them. Go look for a person who is hungry and take care of them." Because what's true is if it's organized, it seems so much easier than when we have to actually put ourselves out there and be in this place of vulnerability ourselves. It's uncomfortable. People who have life-threatening diagnoses often go to help groups, support groups. People who are in grief often go to support groups. And one of the first things they'll tell you at a support group is, don't be surprised if your friends aren't there for you. Because sometimes it is so uncomfortable for them that they'll cut off. It is a normal, I know Barb, setting on the dryer. Barb always says that normal is only a setting on the dryer. And yet it is a universal, how's that? A universal human reaction to want to avoid discomfort. It's a way for protecting ourselves. So it's not as if it's something bad. Let's not make this dichotomy of good and bad. Rather, let's just acknowledge that that is part of our humanness. And the higher way, the more loving choice, the next most loving step, is to acknowledge that and still do as the Samaritan did, which was go to the pain. And then what we see is that Samaritan didn't just say, okay, I'm here to help you, come on over. He went to where the pain was. He went to where the person was. He met the person where they were. And I think there's a lesson for us in that too. Because often we can see somebody in pain, but we want them to be where we are. We want them to be more functional than they perhaps are ready to be or even are capable of being. And what love looks like is going to their woundedness and accepting where they are and then dressing them, soothing them with wine and water and oil, and then covering them and collecting them to a place where they can restore themselves. A note about this denying pain. I'm talking about everything as if we denying pain of others. But it's true for ourselves too, that we are the priest and Levite for our own pain. And often, priest, I think, is probably the reason that was chosen. Often we use our spirituality as the reason for denying it. And there's a term for that. It's called spiritual bypass. And what it means is, I'm not allowed to think negative thoughts because I'm a spiritual person. I'm from Unity. I can only think positive things. And when we do that, we are being the priest and the Levite for our own wounded character. And so the invitation then for us is when we see that there's a part of us that is hurting, to be the Samaritan, to go to that place within us that is hurting and soothe it. Don't expect it to come here. Go to it. Don't pretend it doesn't exist and continue on down the road, because what's going to happen? That part of us is going to continue to suffer. A part of us might die. So we have the choice of being the priest, the Levite, or the Samaritan. When we are on that journey, instead of moving away from the pain and leaving the woundedness behind, let's be the Samaritan and meet the pain right where it is. Give it space. Take care of it. And in time, it will heal. What about the thieves? The thieves represent the forces within us and outside of us that sometimes can rob us of our sense of self-worth, can rob us of our sense of security, can leave us feeling beaten up and naked and broken and torn at the side of the road. And sometimes those things are outside of our control. Often they are things outside of our control. You have environmental disasters, you have wars and things that as individuals we may not be able to do much about, but they can hurt. We have diagnoses that happen, job losses that happen, divorce, separation, disagreement that tears people apart. All of those rob us of our sense of wholeness as we journey on our life. And what we see is that the robber doesn't ask the question, did they deserve that? Did they go to church often enough that we should say, oh no, they're good people, let's not do that to them? The robbers just represent the crap that sometimes happens to us in life. Some of it's in our control, some of it isn't. And then we have thoughts that rob us too. Thoughts within ourselves that we say to ourselves all the time. You don't know enough. You're not smart enough. You're being too smart. You're too athletic. You're not athletic enough. You should stand up so people can see you. You stand up too much and you should become more humble. Should. We should on ourselves all over the place. And part of doing that is that we rob ourselves of our sense of worth. My sister Jill is one of the wisest people I know. And she observed to me one day that every misdeed that humans do to humans can at some level be interpreted as theft. Which I thought was a really interesting thought. So, obviously things like you're going to steal from someone, that's theft. You're going to kill someone, that's stealing their life. But others, we attempt to steal dignity. We attempt to steal freedom. And when we do that, we dehumanize the person that we are stealing from. We don't see them now as equal with us, as neighbors with us. We see them as less than. When we do this, when the force of what we want overrides the other person's right to have a voice, then we are thieves. We are effectively robbing that person, and they can be left torn and broken, and sometimes able to recover from the harm that we do. And when we say those things to ourselves, the same is true. And one of the things that I wrote without even thinking is, each one of us was born because we matter. And each one of us matters because we were born. Each one of us was born because we matter, and each one of us matters because we were born. And so, knowing that we, with the power of our word, with the power of our deeds, with the power of our thoughts, that there is the thief potential within us, lying in wait. Let's just choose not to come out. Just allow that thief to stay in hiding so that it doesn't jump out and accost the unsuspecting innocent who is simply traveling on their road, including us. And finally, we can be the person who is hurt. We can be the person who is on that road. And think about the story. We don't know their name. We don't know the direction they were traveling. We don't know whether they are good or bad. We don't know anything about them. And I want to be clear that that means that that harm, that uncomfort, that hurt can happen to all of us. And in various parts of our lives, and to greater or lesser degrees, they already have happened to all of us. And it doesn't mean, please hear me, it does not mean that you deserve it, because you have done something karmically wrong. That, in another life you were some horrible person, and so karma is going to get you back in this life. Or that you didn't do something good here and now it's coming back to get you. We don't see any of that history. And so, when we start adding those questions, those I should have chosen differently, I wish I'd, why did this happen to me? Then we are now not just the victim, but the robber as well, doing it to ourselves. And so, when we are the hurt person, let us surrender to that fact that life is happening to us. And let us accept and be open to help from unexpected sources, which are represented by the Samaritan. And so these are the message of the story, the journey. Which direction are we traveling? Every action we take, every thought we make, every word we speak moves us either toward Jericho and fear-based, selfish-based, material living, or towards Jerusalem, higher, more expansive. What's the next most loving thought I can have? The Samaritan. Are we willing to expand our acceptance of who is okay? Who our neighbor is? And as we sang earlier today, can we resolve to see God in every face? Can we choose to act like the Samaritan rather than the Levite and the priest, and move towards the hurt rather than away from it? Let us promise ourselves not to be the thief, not to rob ourselves or others of their worth. And if we can't uplift directly, then at least let us do no harm and stay hidden and silent, that part of us, rather than steal. And let us also remember that we are sometimes the victim, and that does not mean that we've done anything wrong. And that despite the hurt, there is a promise that we can be uplifted to new life again. So be like the Good Samaritan. And remember the words on the wall at my grandmother's house. I shall pass this way but once. Any good, therefore, that I may do, let me do it now, for I shall not pass this way again. I bless you.
I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. I cannot do. No puedo hacer all the good, todo lo bueno that the world, que el mundo necesita. Todo el mundo necesita todo lo bueno que puedo hacer. Je ne peux pas faire tout le bien dont le monde a besoin. Dont le monde a besoin de tout le bien que je peux lui faire. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. Ngom mai nang mun suk sai gai dan ngo את כל הטוב שהעולם צריך, אבל העולם צריך הטוב שאני עושה. Sekai'o suku nante dekinai soredi mo kito Sekai'o suku hitori ni nareru. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And we are so blessed. So blessed for this community, for the skills, the talents, the gifts of time and treasure and talent that we see shown every day by this amazing group of people. Thank you, Cindy, for being our usher today. Thank you, Walt, for playing on a new camera that, will take a bit of a learning curve, and we will figure it out. Thank you, Jerry, for being on sound today. Thank you, Barb, for being our platform person. Thank you, Lyle, for the blanket. Stunning. And thank you to Cliff in absentia as he puts on the coffee. He's like the chief cook and bottle washer in so many ways. We are so grateful to have him here. Maxine, thank you for cleaning the building. So all of these different people, Chris takes out the garbage every week, Glenn takes out the recycling and does stuff every week as well. All over the place, we are so grateful for the community and the contribution that each of us make. So, and to those who aren't named because I didn't catch you for various reasons, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to cross the road. Sometimes, the saying that they used to say at seminary always kind of drove me nuts, but is ministers are supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Ugh. And I used to really, really, really not want to hear that because I don't want to afflict anyone. And so my goal is simply to offer ideas so that you have a chance to consider what works for you. So, thank you all. Shall we move into a circle as we sing our peace song and then our prayer for protection? And if it's not comfortable to hold hands, please feel free just to take space. And you're going to stay right there. Staying right where you are is good too, as we sing our song. I'll come someday. It's okay. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever I am, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Wherever you are, God is. We are the light of God. We are the love of God. We are the power of God. We are the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Yay! Go be the light of God, everybody. You are the light of God.
How you doing there, kid? You okay with your kid?
Check, 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 check.
McDonald's, they're always looking for people. Every time I drive to
Good job, Jen. Good job.
Pick it up and pull it over.
you want, you could just pull this over. So we'll leave it like that.
We needed to go, sound to go through the doors.
Oh, I'm just thinking that energy that comes through right at the same time.